are you, young man?
Ja, genau.
Bada bing, bada boom. You're going to stay for a beer, you don't need it, yeah? Water, I need a water. Yeah. Just now, I don't want to be until I'm finished. Are you ready for the big show? Pirates, I'm going to say hello to everyone from just when I get it. Okay, where are you sitting? I'll pull you. Yeah, right one to five. Yeehaw, Cape Town. No, you go to your job. How's the class? I'm going to stop saying hello. I'm about to start. We'll talk to Sean. Hello, Lovey. Thanks.
Hello everyone, I think take your seats, switch your cell phones off to silent please, and the live streaming I think has already started. You good? You hooked up? We're ready to go. Okay, right, as fast as you can so I can get this thing started, and then we can have a drink.
How's the dress?
Okay, are we good to start? Wish me luck. Right, I'm going to start off by saying a huge welcome to everyone here and to everyone who's watching online. And thanks for being here with Shelley and myself to celebrate the beautiful life of our dear son Dean. If I could just once again just ask you to put your phones on silent, and it just helps smooth some bumps along the way. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the thank yous, because the thank yous are easier to say than the goodbyes. And there are so many thank yous, and I'm going to be reading my speech word for word. I've typed this thing out. There's just too much to remember, so I decided to write this thing out word for word. And I'll ad-lib as we go and when it's necessary. So, in some form of chronological order, to Clint and Tracy and Cameron and Cheryl, and in brackets to Neil and Anthea and Luke in London, for being the guardian angels, the big bear huggers, the calm souls in the darkest tempest that was last Saturday. right from the first telephone call, throughout the 3-hour trauma of waiting and pacing and not knowing, and for being there to wrap us in love after the final call came in from my brother, the call which became the lightning strike and the thunderclap that both blinded us and deafened our lives forever. Then, like entering the eye of a storm, the storm subsided and the wind calmed, but only briefly. To Tristan, Cameron's wingman, who flew from Johannesburg at 5 a.m. the next Sunday morning, the very next Sunday morning, just to be with his mate Cameron. Tristan, there are no words and you are the man. To Clint and Tracy again, for helping us book flights, for the food and the wine, the beers, the lift to the airport on Tuesday, and just fussing over us and crying with us in the days and hours after this cruel, maddening moment. Oh, and to Tracy, where is Tracy? He's around somewhere. Tracy, who, a thanks goes to Tracy for hoovering the house this Monday and missing a spot in the corner. To our dear friends, Belinda and Gavin, to Calvin, Ashley and Jos for the drugs, and to Craig for pizzas on Sunday lunch. To Beth, Adie and Belinda for holding Shelley's hand on Monday and Tuesday, and for the same again and again and again every day since. To Neil Jones, my brother, my little big brother. Neil, thank you from the bottom of my heart, my and Shelley's hearts, for helping us on that Saturday while you were in London, and for being the unfortunate yet cruelly predetermined line of communication that would have to have made that dreadful call to me. Your stoic demeanor in which you steered the ship through the storm was worthy of a Naval Medal of Honor. Again, in London, for helping with the details, the meals, the flights, for helping us get Mum to London and to be with us and finding accommodation for her, for helping us not to have to deal with the police and the coroners, and sweeping away all that administrative burden that we would have had to deal with during those tough few days. Your actions will never be forgotten. In particular, our thanks and prayers have gone to Neil and his wife Alison for having to not only bear witness and be involved in the tragedy of Dean's passing, but to once again to have to relive and reopen the recent scars and pain of your own tragedy. We remember Kieran every day. Thank you, Neil and Alison. To Anthea Peterson, who is Dean's godmother, for helping us on that Saturday, saint-like in offering your house for our accommodation needs and getting the order of service done and arranging the amazing St. Luke's Church under such enormous time constraints and emotional duress, and for generally helping us all keep our shit together through it all. You are truly amazing, Anthea. We know Dean had a very, very special relationship with you, and we know that you are hurting, and we love you. To the Norths and the Burtingers, thanks for the lovely wines in London. Mark Gallagher, thank you for the lift back from the airport through the rain and all the pain again. Thank you. To the Lions Club and the Port Shepstone Country Club for allowing us to share in this amazing venue today and your support. Dean and Cameron and I have played many rounds of golf here, and our family has watched cricket and many other events here over the years. To all the people who helped with the tables and the flowers today, the eats and the drinks, I know lots of people are to thank here, but there are just too many to name, but you know who you are. To everyone who came to London to be with us and hold us tight through all the tears. To my mum, to Neil, to Shelley's brother and sister-in-law, John and Rox, to Luke's mom and dad, Seb and Vera, to Owen, Vicky and Kara, to Alex, Will and Auntie Giesler, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. To all the people who have travelled here today from far and wide, there are too many to mention, but the Underwoods, the Piers Parsons and the Joburg mates and Greg Bunyard are noted, and I'm sorry if I've left anyone out there. To everyone who sent messages and wanted to help in every and any way, we thank you. To everyone present here today who has come to support the family and to share in the celebration of remembering Dean. To all our friends, old and new, to the South Coast community, the Creston College alumni, and family, to the Umtantweni community, the Cape Town and UCT fraternity, and to the London Shakers and Movers, thank you all for your love. To my team at the office, for what they have had to endure and witness over the last week or two, and for them standing up and doing their jobs while I was away, and for doing that all was needed to be done. When I was away, they decided to refurbish and repaint the office, and that they planted a new garden outside. It just drove me to more tears. I hate you for it, but I love you for it. Thank you to Rochelle over there for arranging the thank you cards, where are they here, and the spectworms. I'll talk about the spectworms later, and for arranging the live streaming services, and I'm sorry to say, for being my secretary. Thank you, and thank you, Audrey. Okay. Thursday, the 7th of November. So it would be exactly this time last week. In fact, exactly this time last week. So Dean's funeral was held on the 7th of November 2024 at the St. Luke's Church in Chelsea, London. If you are ever in London, please go and take a look at this magnificent building. And it's an absolutely amazing church, a real English gem and a beautiful building. There were 450 people who attended the funeral, many having to accept standing room only. Another real tribute to Dean. Noteworthy, many things were noteworthy, was that Dean's running club friends all came in their suits and finest outfits, but they all wore their running shoes. It was amazing to see. The Reverend, I don't know how to pronounce this chap's name, the Reverend Preb Brian Leathard, I think that's it, Leotard, I don't know, made the service so beautiful. He is a true man of the cloth. His voice was commanding, stern, solid, yet sweet and lyrical and full of compassion. Just what you would hope for. Very, very British. His faith and his Christian calling and his commitment to God was channeled into a simple, compelling sermon, which gave us a beautiful analogy into how Dean's life and his love bomb for the world around him is love. The most cherished and most important of all Christian attributes and qualities that we all need from our fellow man. Dean's love for his humans is clearly what the world has always needed and so desperately needs right now. And the service acknowledging this is so apt for who Dean is. I want to thank the St. Luke's team. Amen. The church service of order of proceedings that was held at St. Luke's on Thursday afternoon, I've decided to use it as a general template in a way for this celebration. There will, however, be no hymns. And I must say that the first and the last hymns were sung with real gusto. And the organist, you could see he was like really going into this thing. It was fantastic. He was feeling the love and he was giving it a full blast with all the pipes in the back. They were blowing hard, I'm telling you. The church walls were shaking. However, the second hymn, I have to say, was not that well performed. Absolutely no one knew this one from a bar of soap, and I can quite confidently say that that rendition will never make it past the next round of the LCOGTC, or the London Church Orchestra's Got Talent contest. The outpouring of grief, shock, support, love, and distress from across the entire world is in many ways it's unprecedented. The messages have been unbelievable, heartfelt, and they have been welcomed. They comfort us and all those who read them. So many people have been affected by this tragic day, this dark cloud, this theft, this felling, this silence. The Jones family knows that the real message from you all who sent messages of love to us and your prayers and for being here today is simply to tell us how much Dean was loved by each one of you and by so many people from all walks of life. It is mind-numbing, and it will take years to decipher, decode, and comprehend what is happening right now across the world in support of Dean. The tribute letters will take a long time to read, as there are so many of them, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Dean's creed, his reason for being, his aura, his Deanness was visible and tacit to all the lucky ones he touched. And he dumbed it down into a beautiful, simple truth. A truth which is this: love is all we need, and love is what makes us better people. For fuck's sakes, be loved. Okay, and for many of us, myself included, we are only really realizing the full extent of that now. And Charles and I'll just go off piece a bit. We did chat about it this morning. And it's very difficult when your child works overseas and you don't feel part of their day-to-day lives. And you're not as close to them as you were when they were at home, obviously. And you try and keep up, but it's just not the same. And we realize now that Dean had changed a lot over those 4 years. And yeah, he changed in all the right ways. And there's a few speeches that are coming which will give you insight into that. Okay, so on Thursday morning, I can't remember, we went to the scene of the accident. No, it couldn't have been, yeah, it was Thursday morning, the day of the funeral, that's correct. We went to the scene of the accident to say a prayer and to witness the many flowers and tributes that were written by his friends. And attached to many of the bouquets, it was truly beautiful, the messages, and they were extremely moving. But there were some really funny ones, and the funniest one, I also didn't understand that. But the funniest one was the placement of the pineapple. So I'll have to ad-lib this one as well. So Dean and Luke, and I'll talk a little bit more about Luke. For those of you, some of you know Luke, he was Dean's big mate in Cape Town. So they had this flat, and inside the flat, they had all these plants, pot plants, right? Like asparagus and, I don't know, green beans and tomatoes and whatever. And Dean had bought a pineapple. He thought it was going to be this big pineapple that would grow up nice, big and juicy and chunky. But what he didn't realize is that he bought a dwarf pineapple. So he used to, every day, water the other plants who were all growing beautifully, and this dwarf pineapple would remain the dwarf pineapple. And he would fucking cuss it every morning, loud and proud. Fucking pineapple, fucking fuck. And the pineapple was actually with the flowers on the accident scene. And I think Luke's girlfriend, Millie, just took the chance to get rid of it out the house. And her letter that was tucked in the pineapple was simply this: fuck that fucking pineapple plant, Dean Jones. Dean, the Dinos, Deanie Beanie, DJ, we are here to celebrate you, my boy. The supernova, the bright comet, the storm, the thunder and lightning, the ball of fire, the 100-megaton nuclear bomb, the mover of mountains, the dreamer, the calming of stormy waters, the whirlpool, the smart, the hard-working, the gentle like rain, the flowing river of love, the original, the giver, the taker, the deeply caring friend, the loving son, the big brother, the respectful, the motivator, the challenger of convention, the leader, the unforgettable, the indelible, the door smasher, the desk puncher, the cusser, the beer drinker and hellraiser, the new soul, the traveler and the runner. This legend, this entity, this force of nature, whoever was lucky enough to be touched by Dean, forever after would never be able to rid themselves of him. This, my friends, is why we are here today, the celebration of the extraordinary life of Dean Lawson Jones, 27 years old. When Dean was born, Shelley and Dean were chilling at the hospital. Oh, by the way, he got a 10 out of 10 APGAR result. Test results were already important to him. Anyway, I went home and by myself, I opened a bottle of fine wine and smoked an expensive cigar, and I played a very special song over and over until I passed out from the emotions of the day and the overwhelming joy of his birth. And to this very day, I still play this song when I play live music. And I always dedicate it to Dino. And when I'm emotionally ready again and able to play it, I will forever dedicate it to him. And this is a song, Davey, if we've got the TV ready. Yeah. So I'm going to play a song now, and we're going to just roll some pictures of Dean on the screen over there. In no particular order, just as the music goes. So this song is called How Can I Apply by the Trash Can Sinatras.
There's a boy up here who wants you to love him, but he can't ignore his fears. There's a girl down there who wants you to love him like you did this time last year. I can feel that hole through the night of life. I can feel that hole through some way. Moment light I feel, come and make a meal of me. I'm hot this morning, and I must say this dish is delicious. You can have some more for dinner. Now we'll fill that hole through you. How do I apply to you? I can fill that hole through you someday. There's a dream somewhere that's never been spoken. Is your bus fare somewhere else? Where you can spend your days all shattered and broken till you've gone goodbye forever. And I can feel that hole through you. How can I apply for you? I can feel that hole through you someday. I can feel that hole through you. How can I apply to you? I'll be home for you someday.
Thanks, Davey. Okay. 9 pages to go. There's so much to talk about this amazing guy. On time. So Dean, and I see just briefly, I'm seeing a lot of Dean's mates here. And there's so much to talk about, it's impossible to get it all in, so I've just picked 1 or 2 of the highlights in my opinion. David Small, I see you there, so that's great. So Dean loved cricket as a schoolboy. He loved many things, but he absolutely loved cricket. He was the opening batsman for the school's first team with Kyle Flanagan initially and many others as the years went by. From a young age, right through to his final school game in his matric year, he was the opening batsman for Creston College First 11. I remember in the early years, he looked so tiny against the older opening bowlers from the other schools. Initially, I'm sure that these very same bowlers couldn't believe what the F this little pipsqueak was even doing at the pitch, let alone opening against their main strike force of tall and fast attack bowlers. But they soon realized that he was a handful, and he often left these bowlers scratching their heads at how the hell he was still at the crease after 10 overs. I remember at every game, as his reputation began to precede him, Dean's dismissal became a huge celebration by his opponents. They respected him. He had a beautiful, and I'm paid to say this, he had a beautiful and graceful and classic batting style. He was sometimes either out for a duck, which caused him to leave the field cussing and pissed off at the world, and very close to tears, but more often than not, he would dig in and he would make some serious runs and build a stable platform from which the Creston big hitters could launch their respective attacks. He noticeably, single-handedly influenced the results of the match positively in his team's favour from a batting perspective. Once or twice I recall him holding his bat for the entire innings. I can't recall exactly, but I know he made great progress in the Southern KZN provincial cricket trials as well. Who knows where that could have led, but luckily for the running fraternity, this never happened. And probably without even knowing it, in my opinion, his greatest batting achievement was during a trial or school match. I think it was Margate, I can't remember, and as the opener, having to face the then young Andile Pulakwayo, who, for those of you who don't know, is a Protea fast bowler. Dean stood his ground against Andile's first unbelievably quick deliveries, and I remember actually feeling sick at the pace of the ball that Andile managed to generate, and I prayed that Dean wouldn't catch one in the nacks. Anyway, Dean was, as I recall, never bowled out by Andile. And by the way, Dean could bowl as well, and in fact his bowling figures in 2 matches where he won man of the match were incredible. And here are the bowling figures. I still have the original balls, the cricket balls from those 2 matches, and they actually framed, and to this day they still hang on the bedroom of his wall of his bedroom. So March 2010, Creston under 13A against South City under 13A, man of the match. Overs 4, maidens 1, runs 5, wicket 6. October 2010, Creston under 13A against the archie enemy Zocha under 13A, man of the match. Overs 4, maidens 0, runs 13, wicket 6. This boy could bowl. And with the cricket story, I'm going to just read it and then I'm going to have to ad-lib it. One of the funniest cricketing stories I've ever heard, and it's so Dean. So fast forward 6 years to the London Bakers cricket story, and this, like I said, is an ad-lib version, and if any of the Bakers guys are watching this stream, sorry, it's I want to embellish it to my heart's desire. But I think I'm not far from the truth. So Dean was the, as Stuart would put it, a non-travelling reserve, and the guys phoned him urgently to come and fill in at number 11. And I can't remember the exact rules, but it was last man standing or something like that. So Dean came in at number 11. They literally needed 50 runs off a relatively short period of time to win the game. And Dean got his eye in and off he went. And the very last ball, it's actually amazing, this story. The very last ball, they needed 11 runs to draw, and they needed 12 runs to win off the last ball. But the rule is that if you hit a 6 off the last ball, they would double that score. Guess what? He hit the 6, and they won the game. And apparently all the guys rushed onto the field, the whole team, and they carried him on his shoulders. And Dean said he felt like Sachin Tendulkar just winning the World Cup. So it's such a great story, that I love it, I really do. There are many anecdotal yarns to talk about Dean's incredible character, his spirit and sense of humour. And there are just too many, but I'll just have to talk about the one pre-primary. Dean went as Charlie Chaplin, and he had this little black hat and red lipstick and black eyeliner and a black suit. But short little, and all of them were sort of doing the dance and going left and right and stuff. And the safety pin on Dean's pants broke. So as he did this, his pants fell down, and he looked down, and he was keen, as he always is, to be part of the thing. So he picked them up, and then did this, and then carried on, and the pants fell straight down again. The audience were in hysterics. Most of the ladies had to go to the toilet to relieve themselves. They were laughing so much. And then Dean worked it out by holding one, and he just figured it all out. And such a funny story. The other one was the Drac Gardens bowling, the lawn bowls. I'm sure we've all been there. So we were playing bowls, Dean, Cammy, myself and Shelley. And Dean just got that little naughty streak in him, and he was trying to work out how fast he needs to roll the bowl to get it up the bank on the other side. So he gave it a massive heave-ho out of nowhere, and the ball went right across, over the ditch, up the other side, and actually smashed through the garage window of a golf storage facility or something like that. And I turned around, and I was about to shout and scream at him, and he was on the floor laughing so much that I just couldn't bring myself to shout, and we all just had a good laugh. He was a naughty guy. I wonder where he got that from. Okay, Port Shepstone, 2004. It really is, just reflecting on the speech and Dean's life, it's just a blurry 10-year school blitz with the Nells, the Collicotts, the Hazingers, the Paddock community, the Hibberdine Tennis Club, cricket matches, rugby matches, hockey matches. Many of the Creston teachers are here today. Dean's school awards and academic achievements were remarkable, and his appointment as vice head boy was one of the proudest days of his life. Our time as a family during the years at Creston College was such great fun. We had a perfectly chaotic school experience with both Dean and Cam, filled with the busy day-to-day lives a young family can only dream of. Those were the days. After matric, Dean left for Cape Town. Keegan, where are you sitting, standing? Right, come up here, my boy. So we received a WhatsApp from a dear friend of Dean's and Keegan. Keegan was Dean's flatmate for a while. And Mike's speech was literally 2.5 pages. And I decided to break it down into 2 sections. So Keegan will read both, but he'll just read one now, and then the second section later. And this one is called Yeehaw! Cape Town, here we come. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready, Keegan?
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'll give this a go. It's not my, sorry. I didn't write it, but there might still be a mookie that flies into my eye at some stage and gets into a little tear. So yeah, again, this is from Mike. You can see where Dean got his heart from. There's Ian, Shelley and Cam. I'm so sorry for your loss. I've been reeling ever since receiving the news about Dean last week and can only imagine what the 3 of you are going through. It's been immensely painful few days and I can't stop thinking about Dean. I wanted to share some memories and appreciation for the amazing friend that the Jones family gave us. When I heard the terrible news, I couldn't help feeling Dean was there. I was away last weekend with some colleagues, staying in a bush camp in the middle of Kenya in the early hours of the morning. I received the news once everyone had already gone to bed, and I was on the phone with Derek, and he was explaining what had happened. It was the worst phone call I had ever received. I was pacing backwards and forwards in the darkness, a lot like Dean did on every phone call, we all know that, trying to make sense of it, and suddenly heard what sounded like creatures bellowing in the night. It turned out that 2 of my colleagues were having a raucous go at it in one of the huts, just as I was receiving the hardest news of my life. Derek and I broke down in a mixture of tears and laughter. With Dean's wicked sense of humour, we couldn't help feeling that he was already there playing a joke on us. I remember meeting Dean in first year uni. We stayed in Leo Marco together. I couldn't quite make sense of him. A ball of restless, chaotic, intense energy, preferred drinking beers in sets of 3, and clearly hadn't grown up in a place far more colourful than a Cape Town suburb. Over the months that followed, we became fast friends, always fooling around, always together, along with Luke. Countless hikes, parties, laughs, adventures, and ladies. Sorry, Auntie Shelley. Banter and deep conversations. Dean was always so honest in his humour, vulnerabilities, and love for his friends. He made it easy to be ourselves. We couldn't help but love this wild man from the South Coast that threw himself dramatically into our lives. When I met Dean, he was a nuclear plant of energy, and he didn't yet really know where to direct it. It was channeled chaotically into his excited noises, endless desire to explore, with us always eagerly joining, and his quick temper, which we've all seen on a golf course, or like you said, when he went out in cricket. He always had us crying with laughter, and one of my funniest memories with Dino's happened when we were staying in Lau Road. My uncle was down from the UK, and I had mentioned in passing to Dean that he worked for one of the big banks in the UK. Given Dean had his sights fixed on some big dream in the UK, he said he really wanted to meet my uncle, and obviously was keen to make a good impression and connection. One evening, after a few days back home, I decided to head back to the digs. My mom, uncle, and another family friend asked if they could drop me off, wanting to see the little shoebox we were all crammed into. Of course, I was excited to show them and introduced them to my put-together, charming digs mates. We arrived at Lowell and quietly walked in. It was dimly lit, and everyone was in their room studying. My mom, uncle, and friend were silent, taking in the place. I called out a typical greeting, "Daddy's home." There was a moment of silence as we stood waiting in the kitchen. Suddenly, with an almighty animalistic screech, Dino's launched himself out of the room into the dim light. He was facing away from us, wearing only his boxers, which he had pulled right up into his arse crack, and pretended to squat and shake his flat ass at us. A common gesture which he thought was just to his mate Mark. I can see him doing that. After this display of dominance, he turned and suddenly realized he had an audience of 4, all standing, stunned against the wall. He stood there for a few seconds, like an impala in the headlights, eyes wide as saucers, before diving back into his room and slamming the door. At a moment later, we heard an almighty screech, followed by a loud, anguishing cry of, "Fuck!" and then more silence. He appeared again some moments later, sheepishly introducing himself to everyone. We all could barely breathe through the laughter, before he retreated back to his room. Whenever I've seen my uncle since, he always asked about Dino's. He absolutely loved him, and I guess he did succeed in making a profound impression, just not quite as he had planned it. With Dino's, there was always countless stories like this. He always had us laughing. Once in first year, I remember having a deep conversation with Dean, the kind where two friends all let it go on the weights that they carry. Two things he shared stuck with me. One was that he dreamed of one day seeing the world, and at this point only visited Portugal when he was far younger. He yearned for it. The other was that he felt that it was difficult making friends in Cape Town, that he had felt a bit isolated and alone. And that he was just...
Okay, you got it.
That he was... I was doing so well. False sense. Yeah. That he was grateful for me and a handful of others that he already knew and was starting to know better. There was myself, Luke, and Jess, and a few others. Yeah. But he felt like he wasn't good enough at meeting people, and making connections. I remember being a bit flawed by that. Even back then, when we were still boys, finding our stride as men, I felt like he had an authentic, natural way with people. He just didn't see it yet. Well done, boy. Well done.
That's why I asked you to read it, Keeks. I couldn't. Thank you, my boy. That was a tough one. Okay. So, Dean's life moved from Cape Town to London. We're going to just go to London straight away. And basically, his life centered around the company he was working for called BDO, who are a global organization. His life in London, he was living his best life. He'd made the great city of London his home. He loved all that London had to offer, and it is now abundantly clear that he always brought a fresh beam of sunshine to the typical London weather. To be honest, I never really got into the details of Dean's day-to-day working life, and we did speak a lot about just the summary projects of what he was working on. He spent a lot of time. He worked very, very hard at BDO. And the one thing that stands out, and I can now say that if I'd have said this if he was alive, it would be brown-nosing, but he had huge respect for his bosses and the partners, and he listened to their advice, and he respected what they stood for, and he knew he could learn a lot from those people. The BDO team the senior guys have been in touch with us. We've spoken to them. They are deeply hurt, and there's a massive void in that company right now. And a lot of them were at the church. It's just too difficult to meet everyone under these circumstances, so we never really got to meet any of the BDO senior guys. But yeah, hopefully one day we will, and say hello and have a beer. Okay, speaking of beer, so no tribute to Dean or celebration of Dean would be right without mentioning his passion for beer. He loved beer, just like his daddy. He literally took photographs of each beer he drank with the sunset in the background through the bottle. And he once posted a typical sunset photo of a Black Label beer bottle. And the photo, that particular photo, he posted it on Instagram, and the photo was actually tagged and reposted by Black Label themselves on Instagram. And Dean loves to tell us that potentially was one of his life's greatest achievements. Food and cooking were just huge passions of Dean. He cooked Vietnam pho for us one day. It took him two days to make it. He did a Gordon Ramsay fish and chips, which I can promise you now took him a whole day just to make the batter, and it was seriously the best fish and chips I've ever had. The brine had to be, the meat absolutely had to be perfect. He had these fucking temperature things going, and just let it brine, boy. It's not that serious. No, it's got to be right. I remember, and I'm so glad that Dylan is here. I remember one night clearly, pretty recently actually, at the Sailor restaurant with Dylan, and Dean just walked into the kitchen. And Dylan's actually working. He's got a restaurant full of people, and Dean started drinking whiskey and and just hooking out with Dylan while he was at work. And Dylan, I'm sure you never forget that. He always asked for pictures of Shelley's meals, and Shelley and Dean in particular had a very strong food connection. And we have lovely photographs of Dean cooking pastas and from a young age right through to this day. It's just pictures of food and how much he loved food. Dean liked the finer things in life. He liked clothing, he liked stylish bars, restaurants. He liked Cape Town, London, Paisley, sorry, Tweenie doesn't feature, guys, we're out. Paisley shirts, suits, the fine shoes, and all the things that are quality. And respect, Dean. It's the only way. Clothes maketh the man. Parties, I have absolutely no comment here. I know there were many. In fact, every day was a party for Dean. But I did see a video once of Keegan and Dean. I think I saw Warren somewhere over there. The day after Brett Browderseth's bachelors. And all I can say is, no, man. Oh, there you are. So, I'm going to read Cameron's speech that he made at St. Luke's. It's kind of one page, and then we're going to have another song, which will bring tears to everyone's eyes, but that's good. That's what we're here for. So Cammy, Dean's younger brother, I must say, he, over the last 10 days, and I know he's watching now, Cammy, you've been amazing, my boy. Honestly, the strength you've shown, how you did your speech at the church, and how you helped keep it all together on that Saturday, will be forever with your mom and me. You are an incredible young man, and we love you very much. Anyway, this is the speech. So he says, so he's talking to the London audience, obviously. He says, some of you met Dean through work, some through running, and some through general drinking adventures and degeneracy, sometimes a combination of them, but in all cases, Dean's smart, funny, and genuine nature drew you to care for him as he has brought you here today under these unfortunate circumstances. As it is for all brothers, Dean and I were very competitive growing up, which, unfortunately for me, meant I got more upset than he, as he was a better sportsman than me. Dean was quite a cricketer, for those who didn't know, and during the junior school batted out many overs against would-be current Protea bowler Andile Pulakwayo. Dean's liking for sports like cricket, golf, fishing and tennis may come as a surprise to some of you, as, like myself, he did not have the temperament for such sports. Also, I wonder where he got that. Dean definitely holds the unofficial record at a few golf courses for the farthest club thrown. Dean's tantrum throwing would help elevate his career as a professional desk drummer. His songs at home would crescendo in the shape of a fist-sized hole in the desk or door. It's a pity his career would be cut short due to a hand injury. I wonder how he got it. This lack of patience and stress carries through to his approach to making plans with friends. Dean had so many plans on the go at any one time. It was incredible. While it was exhausting to keep up with, it is something that I really admired and which allowed him to make friends with all of you and all of us here today. I think we should all try to reapply Dean's full-on and busy approach to life. However, maybe not quite to the same extent, as it was quite stressful for him and those around him. Dean's plan making with regards to social activities was mimicked by his plans for life, where he would have a different vision or grand idea every week. I do not envy his people manager at work. Dean and I spoke at length about starting a business or buying a flat together one day, and we will always dream of what we could have achieved together. It was him and I against the world, with maybe Luke and Hugo along for the opportunities. This does bring me great sadness, as we all know Dean would have gone so far. We as friends and family, and actually the world at large, are the worse for it. If you can take anything from Dean's red giant of a life, it is to live it to the fullest, with nothing held back. Work hard, love your friends and family around you, and do not take everything so serious while doing so. I could speak about Dean and his life without talking. I couldn't speak about Dean and his life without talking about running, since it became inseparable from his character. Dean got to see so many amazing places such as Madeira, Chamonix, Bordeaux, Barcelona, Table Mountain, and so many more because of running, all the while making such amazing friends along the way. Each of these trips was accompanied by a lovely photo of an ice-cold beer with the sunset on top to top it off. One of Dean's proudest achievements, which I've mentioned before, was having a beer photo reshared by the official Black Label Instagram account. He was seriously chopped with that one. It still hasn't fully set in for me yet that I won't be able to come visit Dean and let him show me some new cooking technique or dish he watched on YouTube. I will miss my big brother, who looked out for me in so many subtle ways, as he would for all his friends and family. He was so thoughtful and cared so much about those close to him. Dean, you made us proud to say you were our colleague, friend, brother, son, and grandson, and we will never stop missing you. And I hope you can feel the experience. I hope you can feel and experience the love coming from this church and from around the world these past few days. You truly are one of a kind, and we will all think of you in quiet moments, running through London, sipping a beer in the sunset, or passing by a watch shop. I love you, Dean. Fly high, my brother.
We'll do it all, everything on our own. We don't need anything or anyone. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? I don't quite know how to say how I feel. Those 3 words said too much, but not enough. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me a garden that's bursting into life. Let's waste time chasing cars around our heads. I need your grace to remind me to find my own. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me a garden that's bursting into life. All that I am, all that I ever was here in your perfect eyes. They're all I can see. I don't know where, confused about how as well. Just know that these things will never change for us at all. If I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world?
Sorry about that song. It was a close call not to play it. It's a bit of a brute, but we got through it, and it's a most amazing song. Okay, we've been at it 50 minutes. I think we're on track. Won't take much longer. No rush. So you'll see in the picture over there, Dean, he took my tie, my work tie, and took it over to London with him, and that scarf is his mom's, pashmina. And so I decided, when I went to Dean's room, I took the tie back, and I'm going to keep wearing it as long as I can. So with this next session, we're going to talk a little bit more about Dean's running stuff. Hang on. And this was his running cap. Often used to wear it like this, so I'll wear it like that. Right, run, Forrest, run. The Midnight Runners Club became a major part of his life, and this club was a fundamental part of his London social life. The club held a tribute. You just can't believe what's going on with these running clubs, guys. It's amazing. They held a tribute run last Tuesday with 250 plus runners pitching up for the Dean machine. And there's another run to be held this Sunday at Battersea Park, and this run will be attended by runners from all three of his running clubs. He was a member of Fulham Running Club and the Midnight Runners, and as well as a broader group of friends and work colleagues that will attend that. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's well over 1,000 people running there. So a guy came up to me. We were having a whiskey after the few, and I cannot remember his name, so apologies if you're watching. There's just too many names that night. But he came up to me and we were chatting and he said, you know, Ian, it's now a known, it's a recognized and growing trend in London that Dean was way ahead of the curve and a pioneer in the use of running clubs to gain access to amazing social interactions, but probably more as places to meet the fairer sex. And it is now reported that many new single males have taken up the sport in recent years, probably much to Dean's dismay. Some of Dean's running outfits were, in my opinion, flippant disgusting. Never has a combination of colours and weird tight-fitting running apparel been brought to bear in such a quite awful and pleb manner. The chicks obviously didn't think so, right? Travel was a passion for Dean. Ireland, Italy, France, Vietnam, Portugal, Madeira, the list goes on and on and on. Dean lived 100% travel mode and was always planning the next one. Shelley and I love the story of the flamenco guitar, and him and Luke were in a small town, I think it's Puglia in southern Italy, and they literally phoned us and they said, just listen to this. And there in the middle of this tiny little town square was a flamenco guitarist singing on a Saturday afternoon, full on. It was wonderful. Yeah, he loved it. So when we left, it would have been left on the Saturday. Yeah, Saturday was a blur. We were literally 3 nights in London, so yeah, Saturday night we were on the plane already. But just before we left, a young lady came to the front door, knocked on it, and came in. Her name is Bella, and I think Bella's watching now. Hi, Bella. Annabella Clover is her name. She is a close friend of Dean, and she came to the flat just before we were to return home. And she dropped off a photo album that she had, with the help of her friends, put together. The album is an online album for anyone to see and contribute pictures to. There's a code, I don't know, there's a few of them lying around there. There's one right behind you, Claire, I think, that little barcode thing, QR code. And if you scan that code, it gets you into the album. So the album is both, it's packed with photos and anecdotes to Dean, and it was done in a very short time. The album is incredible and beautiful, and we will treasure it, Bella. Bella made an immediate and huge impact on us Joneses as a family in a very short time we had together. She specifically spoke about the impact Dean had made on her as well, and how many times he went out of his way to include her in social events during her 1-year recuperation from an Achilles heel injury. See, Charlie, it's not just you, eh, Bumpo? She told us straight that as a born and bred Londoner, Dean introduced her to more Londoners than any local ever did, and everyone she knows has a similar story on how Dean impacted their lives. He always brought a bottle of wine, or flowers, or a choc, and to Bella he brought an orchid, to all the social gatherings. And it's not a common practice in London, she tells me, but this is most certainly a takeaway from the South African way of doing things. In understanding the impact that Dean had made on her and so many others, it is clear why the broader Dean friend running community have asked that everyone in London everyone here who has photos and stories attached to any memory of Dean to upload it onto the webpage. The London Friends Circle and running community desperately want to see all the pics of Dean from school, from his school friends and from his uni friends, with all the anecdotal commentary. It is very safe to assume that reciprocally, the same can be said of all his old friends here and in SA, who, due to the fact that now, with Dean now being in London, had understandably lost a bit of touch with his day-to-day and would enjoy seeing London Dean in full swing. The remembrance page will have you in stitches and in tears, seeing his life evolve through the lenses of the cameras of his many new friends he made in London. I'm going to read a speech now by Luke Janssen. So Luke and Dean were good mates, and they knew each other from basically day one at university, and Luke's parents basically adopted Dean as their third son. And anyway, I'll read the speech. Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I think if Dean was here today and could see all of this, there's one thing he would say, and that's, fuck, there's a lot of you. And that's a quote, Father. This is what he said in church, so don't get mad at me. It's been a tough few days, so bear with me. I want to say a few words about my best mate. I'm going to get through this. Dean, I'll do my best to describe him in a few words. D-E-A-N. D is for Deanness. He was just 100% himself all the time. He was never fake, and he's one of the funniest people I'll ever have the pleasure of being friends with. And I think we can all agree that Dean is one of a kind. Authentically Dean with just the right amount of grumpy. E is for energy. During university, my parents basically adopted Dean as their third son. There was a rolling joke that when he came to stay, my parents would have to replace the flooring because he was pacing around so much. He's the only person I know who could get his 10,000 step count in while taking a phone call. He was always on the go, on the way to something right up until the very, very end. A is for adventure. Dean was always planning trips, hikes, runs, crazy adventures. He wanted the most out of life, and he got it. I still remember him whispering to me during a lecture, "Do you want to go on a 108-kilometer run with over 6,000 meters elevation across the whole of Table Mountain?" And of course I said yes. It didn't matter how ridiculous the plan was or how many kilometers we'd be running, cycling or swimming. He always asked me to join because he knew I was the only one crazy enough to say yes. N is for network, and I think the evidence is in front of me today. He had a way of bringing people together and could so easily make friends with people. He went above and beyond for those he was close to and those he wasn't. He was always talking to restaurant owners and bar owners for new events to host. He always wanted to be involved with everything in some capacity. If there's anything to take from Dean into our own lives, is that we all need a little bit more fig jam. As he always would say, "Fuck, I'm good, just ask me." I'm going to miss you, mate.
Hello, today I'm as lonely as you were in May.
Keegan?
Today, some say today is all there ever will be, so I'll stay. Today. Message to the one, step into
Okay, the second part of Mike Thompson's speech I've called Coming Home. And Keegan, if you battle on the first one, you wouldn't have to give you oxygen on this one, my boy.
Good luck. No, that's all right. Okay, so yeah, second half. Fast forward a few years, and Dean had conquered two things that were always on his mind, weighing him down back then. Through his own incredible talents, work ethic, and knack for seizing life with both hands, he had travelled the world and ended up building a third home in the UK. More importantly, he had overcome any insecurities he had with building friendships. Dean had such a beautiful way of drawing everybody together. He always had that. But over the last few years, I think he finally saw it and believed it. When I visited the UK last year, I remember feeling so immensely proud and inspired by Dean. He had found his stride, he was clearly so comfortable in his own skin, and he had found where to direct his nuclear energy, in running, building communities, friendships, romance, and his work. He was discovering who he was and helping all of us do the same. Of all my friends, he is one of the people that has inspired me the most. And despite the impressive things he was achieving, he remained our Dean, and always found his happy place with us, chatting some shit, laughing at the same jokes, and reminiscing on all of our shared memories. Though Dean grew and changed and stumbled and prevailed and inspired, foremost, he was always a proud Jones from Sheppey. What defined Dean was the fact that he was grounded by home. His roots would always forever be with you there, back on the south coast. He lit up most when we spoke about home, when we spoke about his family. I don't think that homesickness was ever something he would completely overcome, and I don't think he ever would. It's as if he became more and more proud of his roots, and the more he explored the world. He loved you all so much. I got the sense that of all of his work, his aspirations and dreams one day would lead him back to where he started, back to where he was happiest, with you on the coast. Ian and Shelley, he loved you both more than I think could ever be expressed. Cam, you were his day one and best mate. He loved you so much and was always looking out for you and was so proud to call you his brother. Dean had so many dreams and aspirations. He was one of the few people that I knew for certain would accomplish whatever he set his mind to and have a beautiful impact on the world. In the outpouring of love surrounding his departure, it's clear that he had already touched so many lives. I'll break down thinking that he's been taken taken before he had the chance to touch so many more. I miss him so much. This is like me as well now. I miss him so much it feels unbearable. Oh, thanks. You're the beer. Dean will not be impressed. Thank you for giving us an amazing friend, even though he was here for far too short. Dean was and will be remembered on long runs while raising a lion log with his mates. He'll live on through us all, and we'll honour him in our friendships, aspirations to be a bit more like him. We'll miss him so desperately much. I'm sending you three my strength and love at your loss. Forever here to help remember this incredible friend, brother, and son.
We're nearly there, guys. We're nearly there. 2 more pages. It'll be over in a blink. So, Sunday, the 29th of June, 2025. It's 7 months away. Will be Dean's 28th birthday. To the midnight runners that are hopefully watching, myself, Shelley and Cameron have committed to walk a 21 or a 10K in honour of Dean in London. And I humbly ask that perhaps the Midnight Runners Club Committee, Alfie and his team, consider a motion for the three of us to be honorary members of the Midnight Runners Club for just one day. And let his dad and mum and brother represent Dean, wear terrible outfits, and hold the Dean torch, with all the club members running together in his memory. And hopefully Alfie and I will chat about that later. Okay, there's something I need to talk about which will definitely get me as well, Keeg, so I'm going to try and hold this together as well. Dean had an absolute love for watches. Okay, and I've seen the watch flick up there. I put it up there on purpose. And yeah, when we went to the police station to pick up his belongings, I was praying that his watch would be there, and it was in fact there. It was undamaged. We got his phone and his watch and his wallet, and that was pretty much all we wanted, right? So his watches, he loved watches, and I know there's a few of us in the room. I love watches. Gary Close and I chat about watches. We don't do jewelry. I don't think Dean had any tattoos or whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He could have a million. I don't care. But the point is this. So, yeah, it was my 60th birthday last week, and Cammy had come across to celebrate on the day, and in fact, Dean was supposed to arrive today. Fuck. And he was talking to me about a watch that he'd absolutely fallen in love with. Called a Baltic. The manufacturer is a Baltic watch, and he did his normal Dean thing. He deliberated and he stressed out about it and all these things. He went to the shop to get it fitted and to test to see if the watch was right, and he sent me a picture of the watch on his arm. And then that Saturday happened, and while we were in London, Cammy and I spoke about whether or not, what about the Baltic watch that Dean had fallen in love with. And we looked at the photograph that Dean had sent us, and at the back of the photograph, the flooring was this wood panel flooring with sort of a knotty pine kind of flooring. And we Googled Baltic watches, and there was a little shop in Soho which had identical flooring, so we knew we'd found it. So we went there, and I showed the sales guy a picture of Dean, and I said, "Do you remember this guy?" He said, "Yes, I do." And I explained that he tragically passed away, and does he still have the watch that Dean looked at, the exact watch? And he walked over and he pointed at the watch and he said, "That's the watch over there." And I said to him, "Do you promise me that that's the watch Dean wore?" He said, "Yes, that's the watch. That's the watch. It hasn't changed." So Cammy and I bought the watch there and then. No. And I sent Dean a message, which I hope he can read, just to tell him that I'm going to look after his watch for him. And I'll take care of it for him and hopefully give it to one of Cammy's grandkids one day, or Cammy's children. So, and it allows me to touch it and hold it and think of Dean. Oh, that was a tough one. No regrets, there's no anger, there's never a bad thought, there's only love. Perhaps my only regret is that I didn't get to Anfield with Dean and Cam and Shaylee together. But that's about me and has no place here. Dean was living his best life. He was happy, he was excited about the future, he was confident, and that's how we will remember him. And we will forever miss him so very, very much. I'm going to ask Dave, are you ready? You want to take 5? And Alfie Shepherd, who's the chairman of the Midnight Runners Club, at the St. Luke's service, read a poem, Dances with Dan, Embracing Grief, and Dave is Cammy's, Dean's godfather. And Dave, I thank you for offering to read the poem.
But you're going to have to get me your glasses. young again. Yeah, so this is a short but very powerful poem about grief and losing a son. I needed a boat to keep me afloat when the waves of grief threatened to upend me and send me spiraling downwards into the darkness below the surface. So I built one with all the beautiful thoughts and memories of you, with all of your unique and funny ways, with all you stood for and all you stood up for in your short life on earth. And after a while, I realized you were building it alongside me, with all your devotion, your strength, and your dedication, and with all your love for me. I cherish the boat we built together. It keeps me afloat when the waves of grief come rolling in. And while I've got the microphone, I just wanted to say a couple of words to Ian and Shelley. But I know it's off-piste, but forgive me. Ian and Shelley, be kind and gentle with yourselves. Be kind and gentle with each other. Grief is a necessary and painful process, but grief can also bind us together and make our love stronger. We wish you strength and courage for the time ahead, and we'll be there for you whenever you need us. Sterkte.
Thanks, Dave. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, I wrote a prayer for Dean, but it's on a lighter note. And please, in no way is this to be taken with any disrespect. And I've called it the meme for Dean sent by me to God. Dear Lord, I know you are busy, but please can you go through the HAR, which is the Heavenly Admissions Register, for Saturday, the 2nd of November, around about 1400 hours UK time. We just want to warn you about one of the people who would have come through the gates at this time. His name is Dean Lawson-Jones. You need to watch that one. He's a firecracker. No doubt he will already be making changes to the most important of systems and procedures already in place. So resist his efforts at all times when he gets going on that front. Also, try to stock up on water, as he will be working the system to turn most of it into wine. Don't leave any doors lying around, as they will get punched and broken. There most certainly will be an attempt to begin the construction of a brewery and a bottling plant, and I'm letting you know that if he's left unchecked, he will probably launch a heavenly beer, which will have an innocuous name like Angel's Eyes or St. Peter's Gate. Be on the lookout for any abnormal adverts or notices that may lead you to suspect the creation of a running or hiking club, probably called Run for Your Afterlife. It will definitely be that Dean guy again. Anyway, please let him know that we miss him down here. Look after him, he's a keeper. We know he is setting things up there and getting ready for us to join him one day. Amen. Friends, please join us for a drink at the bar. There's some snacks just behind me on my right over there to be served at the clubhouse. And remember to take a spekboom to plant at your house or wherever, to water it and let it grow, and let it always remind you of Dean. Thank you.
Everything, and there's a selfish reflections. my son.